More than 20 people have been killed in Gaza in an Israeli airstrike on a mosque and a former school. The Hamas-run Gaza media office said 93 other people were injured in the attack that took place early Sunday morning in the central town of Deir al-Balah. It said the school was being used to shelter displaced people. Israel says the two facilities were Hamas command centers. DW correspondent Tania Krämer joins me from Jerusalem. Tania, what more do we know about the overnight strikes on Gaza and Israel's current military campaign in the Strip?
Well, it's certainly a reminder that the war in Gaza is continuing at full force. Now, the Israeli military has confirmed that they struck those two areas in Deir al-Balah, which is in the middle area of Gaza, where a lot of Gazans have fled and sought shelter in this area. Tens of thousands are believed to be in this area. Now, the military confirmed that it struck a mosque and a former school in Deir al-Balah. They are saying that it had targeted as a Hamas command and control center. And as they usually say, that Hamas and other militant groups are embedding themselves in civilian areas without providing further evidence of that. We understand from health authorities there that some of the victims there are still under the rubble. Now, the Israeli army has also said that they are relaunching a ground operation in Jabalia, which is in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. Jabalia is in the north of Gaza City. We've seen multiple times the army going into that area where they have been before. They're saying now that Hamas and other militant groups there are regrouping or are trying to reinstall their military structure there. That is what the military is saying. And residents that are remaining in the north, there are not that many. The United Nations believe there are over 200,000 in northern Gaza. They have been called upon by the Israeli military to move south. The military said they have expanded what they call a humanitarian zone, and people should be moving there. But that means again that people are again, if they follow this order, they're again on the move. We know that people in Gaza have been multiple times displaced, with the United Nations estimating that about 90% of Gaza's population has been displaced by now.
We are on the eve of 1 year since the October 7th terror attacks in Israel. Tania, what is the mood like in Israel?
I think that's a rather complex question, depends on who you ask. There are certainly people who have lost a loved ones in the terror attack on October 7 a year ago. For them, it's a day to, remember that, to remember their loved ones. It's a day of mourning and commemoration. Then we have people who still wait for their loved ones to come back from Gaza, who have been taken hostage there. There were over 250 people taken hostage. 101 are still believed to be in Gaza, and there's no ceasefire or hostage deal on the horizon to bring them back right now. And then you have people I spoke to also who have survived what happened on October 7. I went with them back home. Most of those residents of the kibbutzim, the localities there around the Gaza Strip, villages and towns, most of them have not really returned home. For them, it's still a trauma to be back home, and the situation is not really resolved. On top of that, of course, you have the political situation right now. You have the conflict with Hezbollah in Lebanon, also the ground operations there in southern Lebanon, with Israel saying they want to bring their residents back to northern Israel that have been displaced or have been evacuated, rather, in October last year. Then you have the ongoing conflict in Gaza without a political horizon there, without a scenario for the day after. And as I said, no ceasefire hostage deal right now on the horizon to bring back the hostages. That's a topic that's an issue so important for many Israelis that is not being resolved right now. And on top of that, as well, the ongoing now direct conflict with Iran We saw the ballistic missile attack last week in Israel the second time, and now Israel is planning on some sort of retaliation. It's said here it's not a matter of if, but when and how.
Right.
And also, so people would say, you know, depending on who you ask, some feel the deterrence has been restored, but many are also asking the issue of the question of responsibility for the security failures of October 7 has not been really solved. So there are many questions that remain open.
DW's Tania Krämer in Jerusalem. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres released a statement on Saturday denouncing Hamas and calling for an immediate end to the, quote, shocking violence and bloodshed in Gaza and Lebanon. Earlier in the week, Israel declared the UN chief a persona non grata, denying him entry into the country. Guterres' statement comes on the eve of the October 7th anniversary when Hamas militants abducted 251 people.
It's time for the release of the hostages, time to silence the guns, time to stop the suffering that has engulfed the region. Time for peace, international law, and justice. The United Nations is fully committed to achieving these goals. In the midst of so much bloodshed and division, we must hold on to hope. Let us honor the memory of the victims, reunite families, and end the suffering and violence in the whole Middle East. And let us never stop working for a lasting solution to the conflict, where Israel, Palestine, and all other countries of the region can finally live in peace and dignity and with respect for one another.